My friends. I am Bee, and this is Bee's Intuition. Today we're going to do a reading. This is going to be a subscriber special since we've surpassed 700 subscribers, that sounds like a lot of people, right? That sounds like a lot of people. Um, anyways, uh, we keep growing each and every day, and that's wonderful. We have more and more people joining the Hive Collective, becoming a part of our little bee family here, and I'm grateful for every one of you. So this is going to be specifically for the people in the Hive Collective. If you're not a part of the Hive Collective, you can always subscribe and then become a part of the Hive Collective. But anywho, this reading is going to be about how are you proving people wrong? I don't know why, but I feel like this will be a fun one to kind of investigate. Yeah, let's just dive right in, shall we? Please and thank you, Spirit. Ooh. How is the collective proving people wrong? Mm-hmm. How is the collective proving people wrong? Please and thank you, Spirit. How is the collective, the Hive Collective specifically, how is the Hive Collective proving people wrong? I almost wanted to do like, how are you proving your haters wrong? But I feel like that's unnecessarily like negative. I feel like we can just do, how are you proving people wrong in general? Please and thank you, Spirit. How is the collective proving people wrong? Please and thank you. This is interesting. Ooh, I can tell this is going to be a good one. This is cool. It won't seem like it at first, but I'll explain. So we have the Five of Pentacles, the 10 of Wands, 9 of Swords. And, like all of that seems, pretty dark, right? And gloomy. But at the bottom of the deck, you have the Sun card. So right off the bat, people thought that you were going to, and I hate to say this, but this is what's coming through already. Probably people thought that you were going to either stay in a low vibration and have a lot of bad energy around you. People pretty much did not expect very much out of you, which I'm sad to say. But on the bright side, you're proving them wrong because you're creating your own happiness, your own light. Hell yeah. Okay, let's just dive right into the clarification. Starting with that Five of Pentacles. Please and thank you, Spirit. How is the collective proving people wrong with that Five of Pentacles? Please and thank you. Oh, jeez Louise. Holy moly. What else? Okay. All right. Let's investigate these ones that popped out so viciously. No. Well, they did pop out pretty intensely, but not viciously. Anyways, the Five of Pentacles was clarified by the Knight of Wands in the reverse, Six of Cups upright, Queen of Pentacles in the reverse, and then bottom of the deck, we have the Hanged Man. So you may have been somebody that was not very outgoing in the past. You may have actually been very overwhelmed with insecurities. The Knight of Wands in the reverse, people may have even thought that you would become like a toxic player because of that lack of maybe confidence that you didn't have in the past. People were making assumptions about your future, saying that you were going to become like you would seek outside validation from other people. But that feels like something that you have proved wrong. Interesting that the Six of Cups came out upright. So that's interesting. I feel like people kind of just look back on times with you and they typically see it as a pretty positive experience. Most people remember you fondly. But there's something slightly helpless about the Six of Cups. You may have been, in some people's eyes, a little too nice, a little too giving, maybe even forgiving the wrong types of people, kind of putting up with whatever so that you're not alone. I feel like people may have tried to like paint you as somebody that was codependent, and maybe you were at one point in your life, but this feels like you probably don't have that anymore, or you've worked through that. Because it almost feels like this transition, going from a person that's kind of walked all over, kind of puts up with whatever they get, but something has turned, so now you are able to fulfill yourself, and now you no longer put up with people that push you around. But people, although they saw you as insecure in the past, they do overall have very good feelings about you, because you were probably still nice, still caring, still giving, even if you were insecure. But people may have assumed that you would always be like that, sort of just like a mat for people to step all over and take advantage of. I wonder if certain people from your past even assumed you would stay like that, and they may have made plans to come back into your life, assuming you would always be that mat to walk on, unfortunately. But it feels like this is something you're proving people wrong about. Also, the Queen of Pentacles in the reverse is an interesting energy. This almost feels like people may have even assumed about you that they thought that you would be giving to the point of burnout. And maybe at one point you did experience that. But it's almost like people assumed that if you were staying in that very giving, kind energy, that eventually you'd be taken advantage of one time too many. And then you would just shut that off, that caring attitude or that giving nature. Because the Queen of Pentacles upright is very kind, giving, down to earth. But in the reverse, it feels like people were almost expecting you to become bitter through your experiences. It's kind of a bummer that people were just assuming all of this bad stuff about you. I mean, also, this is a very general reading. This does not mean that everybody that you've ever interacted with throughout your life, that they all have thought the same thing. But these could be people that you went to school with, that you were around in your adolescence. Yeah, they assume that you would be very bitter and maybe even stingy. And if you were to accumulate any sort of wealth or abundance, that you would kind of hoard that. You would be very defensive, protective, but in a way that's very bitter, very low vibrational. You could be somebody that protects your energy and what you have, but you're not that bitter person that people assumed you would turn out to be. Interesting. So it feels like you kind of have rewritten who you are and who you're turning into. You've made some probably very drastic changes, because it feels like you're going against the grain here in some way. With the Hanged Man at the bottom of the deck, it feels like people take a moment of pause when they see you, maybe like as you are now, the energy you're embodying now, and it feels like they are surprised. And, if it's the Hanged Man, it's kind of like you've turned things on their head. You've flipped things upside down for these people that were making these assumptions about you and predictions about you. It definitely feels like people that were like almost certain you would turn out to be like this bitter person, or you would live only for other people's validation. It seems like they have to take this moment of pause and reflection because you are quite the opposite of what they thought you would become. But yeah, it could even be uncomfortable because maybe these were people that wanted to see you down and out. Maybe these were people that wanted you to be in that lower vibrational energy. Yeah. I'm actually going to check something real quick. Let me pause this because, but anyways, where was I? Yeah, people could be feeling uncomfortable with your transformation or the way you've turned out absolutely nothing like what they thought you would, because maybe these were people that wanted you to be in a lower vibration. They didn't want you to succeed in life. They didn't want you to improve yourself. And that could be either because of their own insecurities or their own lack of success or their own lack of change, transformation, improvement. These could have also been people that saw themselves as superior to you back in the day. And so they stand there and they're just like, how is this the same person that I used to look down on? Let's see what's underneath that Hanged Man. 10 of Cups. Ooh, baby, you are proving these people wrong. So either you are manifesting a future for yourself that will be your happily ever after, or this is something that people already see you having. Either they see the potential for this or they like see this as what you're embodying. Absolute happiness and fulfillment, having everything you want and more, especially emotionally. Wow. Now I see why people are so shocked. Because, like, if you assume that somebody's going to be in this Five of Pentacles energy, oh, I'm down and out, nobody loves me, I think very badly of myself and my circumstances, to the 10 of Cups, which is, happily ever after, a lot of people refer to it as. That's a significant change. Jeez. Now I can understand why they're in this hangman energy, being like, how is that the same person though? I wonder if this even has affected like externally. Maybe you haven't just had a spiritual transformation, but an external one, because it's almost like people are agog, aghast. They're like, what the hell? What is going on here? I'm going to just check underneath that just out of curiosity to see if we can get any more details. The Emperor? Compared to the freaking Five of Pentacles, dude? You're at the top of the food chain now. People did not see this coming. Oh my gosh, this was not on their bingo cards. Oh my god. Now I'm seeing why they're like, what the hell is going on here? You are not the same person. You are nowhere close to being the person that people thought you would be. You are a boss. And this isn't even just a king. This is the freaking emperor, the highest of the high. in power of the tarot deck. Like the biggest boss, the final boss, dare I say. What the hell, dude? Wow. So either you're building an empire or you have something going for you. Maybe you're in a position of power. People are seeing you as that bitch. I'm just saying. You're a baddie and everybody knows it. That is an insane transformation. It's actually really, this feels like poetic justice. I'm just saying. Maybe you were somebody that was bullied when you were growing up, because the greatest thing about the combination of the 10 of Cups with the Emperor is like, not only are you successful, but you're so happy and fulfilled. So people can't even say like, oh, well, they're in that position of power, but that doesn't mean that they have a happy life. You do. You got it both ways, baby. Holy crap. And that makes sense why people are just like, like I literally get this like frozen feeling, like their jaw is on the floor. And they're just like, what? It's almost like you are showing people what they thought was impossible. How is it possible to start from nothing? Have everybody thinking the worst, you know? Everybody predicting the worst for you. And you show up as that bitch. I'm just saying. You're showing people that what they thought was impossible is possible. Damn. I'll have to show you this just because it feels relevant with what we're talking about right now. At the bottom of this deck is the Salt card. And although this represents something different, I'm getting the phrase salty. So if you had some like nasty people in your past who either made you feel really insecure or they wanted you to feel really insecure, now they're salty as hell because you flipped the tables on them. They thought that they could like, you know, kind of put you in a certain place, that you would never strive for something more out of life, that you would always stay down and out at the bottom of the food chain. It's almost like that food chain has completely reversed and now you're on top, baby. Okay? Damn. That's crazy. I like that. Okay, let's go on to the 10 of Wands, see what that's about. Please and thank you, Spirit. How is the collective proving people wrong with that 10 of Wands? 10 of Wands. Pleasant, thank you. Pleasant, thank you, Spirit. Anything else for that 10 of Wands? 10 of Wands, baby. Interesting. I will definitely go with that. So 10 of the Wands. Let me try and weigh down the cards so they don't go flying everywhere. The 3 of Pentacles came out in this, in this direction. And then the 3 of Wands came out in this direction. Ace of Pentacles came out in this direction. Okay. And then bottom of the deck, we have the 9 of Wands. So 10 of Wands, that is a lot of burdens. It also is very chaotic in this image. Honestly, this kind of feels like what your brain would look like if you have a lot of stuff going on. You know, unable to like really organize anything in your mind, unable to really see things clearly. Yeah, just a lack of order and sense. Yeah. They thought that you would be in that kind of energy, just feeling overburdened by everything, a little bit chaotic, sporadic, like never really being organized, never really having things together. Just, you know, feeling bombarded by life and life circumstances. The 3 of Pentacles coming out like that is interesting. So because it came out like that, that almost feels like, to me, people could have assumed that you would be building with people that would put you in this 10 of Wands energy. Like the people that you work with, the people you collaborate with, maybe even people that are like in your community or friends of yours, family members, people close to you that you build with. They could have assumed that the people around you may actively sabotage you, especially the people that you try to build with. In terms of maybe a work collaboration or something deeper, such as a relationship. They thought that your interactions with other people would contribute to that 10 of Wands energy, feeling super stressed out, feeling like you have too much on your plate, feeling overwhelmed. So it's almost like they assumed that the people that you would let close to you would be people that would sabotage you and or put even more on your plate. Like people see you stressed out and they're like, oh, here's another thing as well. And if you were a people pleaser in the past, this would make sense, because people may think like, oh, the Hive Collective, they're such a pushover, they probably wouldn't even be able to stand up for themselves. So they would just take on everybody's, baggage and whatever. And that you would never like stand up for yourself. You'd never be like, hold up. Like, I need to establish some healthy boundaries here. Or I need to tell you straight up that that's not my responsibility, which I feel like is more so the energy you're embodying nowadays. But people didn't expect this of you. There's also something that's very silly, but in an immature way. People probably thought that you would never mature. You would never really take things super seriously. Like you would just kind of laugh everything off. And that you would never really like maybe buckle down or focus or work on that. Yeah, a lot of people thought that you would stay in this immature mindset, perhaps. Three of Wands coming out like that. They thought that you were going to be way more pessimistic about your future. They thought that you were actively going to hold yourself back. They may have even thought that one of your biggest blockages would have been yourself. And you wouldn't take advantage of opportunities that come your way. That you would let opportunities pass you by. That you would be either too scared or too shy to do things that would serve you and serve a purpose or aid you in improving yourself and your life to manifest a better future for yourself. Yeah, it feels like a lot of people thought that you were gonna, this is interesting, but for some reason, this one is coming through as more so a fear. So I think we finally are hitting somebody that actually did want what was best for you. So I think one person, at least in this, whatever you want to call it, like, I think I'm picking up on an energy of somebody that genuinely did want what was best for you and for you to do that, but maybe they were afraid, and their fear was that you would maybe let opportunities pass you by, that you'd be too scared to jump at opportunities, that you'd be too shy to grab at opportunities that came your way because of maybe insecurities. So I think I am tapping into somebody that's actually rooting for you, which is like, okay, well, thankfully somebody wanted to like wish the best for you. But I think their fear, and this could even have been parents or family members, especially if you grew up in a very shy sort of nature. You might have been very socially awkward, uncomfortable in social situations. But it feels like you're not, fulfilling that prophecy of failure or, that prophecy of letting opportunities pass you by. I think you are showing people wrong and actually taking advantage of every opportunity that comes your way. You don't doubt these things, you go for them. There's a lot of a lack of fear that I feel like people almost assume you would have. It feels like maybe at one point you were your biggest opponent, you were your biggest obstacle. And I feel like through some sort of internal work or something, you have figured out how to overcome that hater within, you know? Interesting. And I feel like certain people did not expect that, but they're happy that you did. Because I think that they feared that you would hold yourself back in life. And then Ace of Pentacles. It almost feels like with this, people could have assumed that you wouldn't know what to do with an opportunity if it came your way. Or you might use that opportunity in a way that does not, like, you, if you saw an investment, that you would maybe invest in it the wrong way, perhaps, is what I'm getting. People might have assumed that about you. Like, you wouldn't know something good if it bit you in the face, like something like that. But it's almost like this is showing that you're way more focused on your goals than they assumed you would be. You're very future focused, and I feel like people are surprised by this. And it's almost like you're showing people that you know exactly what to do with opportunities, investments that can be valuable, or, you know, investments you can make now that will build up to something in the future. A lot of forethought you put into these types of things, where people thought that you didn't have that sense of forethought to do that, but you're proving people wrong. I don't, when I tap into the people that assume the worst for you, I'm just not a fan of how it comes across, because it almost sounds like people thought you were stupid. And I guess that would make sense if you were shy or socially awkward, or maybe you didn't know how to express yourself in a way that was confident, um, or self-assured or anything like that. So maybe people just kind of made assumptions about you, made assumptions of your intelligence, made assumptions about your ability to change, grow, become more evolved, become more confident in yourself. Yeah. And then bottom of the deck with the Nine of Wands. People thought that you would become the victim. And not even in a way that, like, not in the way of like you going through a lot of trauma necessarily, but rather each and every occurrence that happened in your life, using that as maybe a shield or an excuse, you know? Like, if you're not going anywhere in life, you might be like, well, it's because I was bullied in middle school and that's why, you know? It's like, okay, but you're 45. Like, I think you should have gotten over this by now. Like, that kind of thing. Because certain people, unfortunately, they do live in that victim mindset where it's like each thing that sets them back, instead of it motivating them to, you know, try again or push harder or, you know, whatever, they kind of just use that as an excuse as to why, you know, they can't go after their dreams, they can't do this and that and whatnot. People thought that you would kind of just like be moping around and always talking about your past experiences and the things that have brought you down in life, never able to really move past that wounded energy. But it feels like this is what you're proving people wrong about. I'm going to see what's underneath that Nine of Wands. The Ten of Cups again. Like, you're way happier than everybody thought you would be. And it's even kind of again, like beautiful and poetic, sort of, because it's almost like instead of being this person that is bitter and jaded from all of their maybe mistakes or things that proved to be an obstacle or things that undid their own progress or whatever, life circumstances that get in the way, you held on to a vision and you believed that it was possible to move past this energy and maybe even transmute this energy to make a brighter future for yourself. So it's not that you didn't go through those types of traumas and, didn't have a bunch of setbacks in life, but instead of sort of identifying with that and kind of staying in that energy, you were able to believe in more. You were able to push past that, break outside of this wall that you may have built up at one point in your life. I'm just curious what's underneath that 10 of Cups. The Emperor still. Yeah. It's like through who you are showing up as nowadays, like it's so abundantly clear that you're nothing like what people assumed you would be. Like people probably had a lot of sort of premonitions of your future, or, a lot of possible outcomes or ways in which your future wouldn't be so bright. They sort of projected that onto you, but you're proving them wrong by simply just showing up as who you are now. It's almost like your energy alone speaks for itself. It speaks volumes about you because you're in that proper vibration. You're in this place of self-assuredness that maybe you didn't have in the past. And it's like either you are on track to bring your manifestations into reality and people see this in you, or people see you as already having established that in your reality. Wow. Okay, let's go on to the 9 of Swords now. Clarify that, please, and thank you, Spirit. How is the collective proving people wrong with that 9 of Swords? Please and thank you, Spirit. 9 of Swords energy. Can you clarify that 9 of Swords for us, please and thank you, Spirit? How is the collective proving people wrong with that 9 of Swords energy? Please and thank you, Spirit. Okay. Ooh, baby. I like this. Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you, Spirit. Okay, so what we have, clarifying that 9 of Swords, we have the Page of Pentacles coming out like that. And then we have the Queen of Cups upright, 8 of Wands upright, and then the Hanged Man upright. Bottom of the deck is the 2 of Wands. So 9 of Swords, you could have been somebody that really struggled with their mental health at one point in their life. Maybe you even still have mental health issues, because the 9 of Swords, that's a really heavy energy. That can even be like PTSD flashbacks. That can be like losing sleep because your mental health is kind of such a mess. And who knows, maybe you still deal with that in the background, and maybe people just assume you don't because of the way you're showing up. But it feels like people almost assume that you would always be struggling with your mental health, that you would never be able to break free from that, as well as anxieties and fears. Maybe you were a very anxious person growing up. Maybe everything made you scared. Maybe everything intimidated you. Yeah, you may have like even listened to your fears when it came to, not going for something because you were too afraid to, or stuff along those, along that line, those lines. But the Page of Pentacles coming out like that, that's so interesting to me. There's something about this Page of Pentacles, and like it speaks to, with this context of like, that you wouldn't have much to show for yourself, and maybe because of the mental health component, Like, even if you did experience success, people assumed it would be on a very minor scale. Like, sure, maybe they didn't think you were gonna be a complete failure in life, but they really downplayed the possibility of your own success. I don't like that energy. I don't like that mindset. People are like projecting onto you, like, yeah, well, if they do get anywhere in life, it's not going to be very far because they're lacking this, this, and this. But that's all based off of a past version of yourself and not who you are now. They may have also thought that maybe you would overthink every single action or every single opportunity, every single investment, to the point where you just, wouldn't do these things. You would maybe miss, opportunities for expansion and whatnot. But it feels like you're proving people wrong here. And something feels past tense about this Page of Pentacles. I feel like you were probably way evolved past that Page of Pentacles energy. At one point in your life, you were probably a Page of Pentacles, just starting out, kind of exploring things, experimenting with things, maybe experimenting with different career paths, perhaps, or maybe studies. It feels like maybe you even dabbled in things to kind of see which is the best fit for me. Okay. I love this Queen of Cups energy. Oh, this is actually really sweet energy. I think that you're actually very inspirational for people that also struggle with mental health issues or also have gone through some sort of trauma or traumas, um, or people that struggle with anxiety, fear. Because I see you showing up. Oh my gosh, no, I wasn't expecting to get emotional. Let's not cry on camera. It's not very cute. Anyways, um, that Queen of Cups, it feels like you show up as the person that you wish you had when you were going through those really dark times. You show up as, keep it together, B. You show up as a light at the end of the tunnel for people. Damn, okay. You show up as somebody that can you prove to people that they don't have to stay stuck, that they don't need to let their mental health define them. Like, even if you do actively still struggle with mental health, there's something about the way you show up. Like, I got through that. I am here today to live to tell the tale. And you just show up in this very beautiful, kind, giving energy, but it speaks so deeply to the people that are struggling actively. And maybe it's not even just in terms of mental health, but just in general. You show up as this very warm light and this kind leader. Like, it literally feels like you know what it's like to go through things. And so you have patience, you have love, you have support for the people that are actively going through these things. And people trust you, people look up to you because they know that you did not have it easy. They know that your life has been a struggle, at the very least inside your mind, right? But it probably was multiple things that hindered you in life, especially starting out in life. But now you show up as this like warm hug that so many people need, and you guide them through the darkness. And then the Eight of Wands following that, I think that that's beautiful because, so the Eight of Wands can deal with communication, but it also can deal with forward movement. I think that you have a way of speaking to people that is incredibly strong. Like, 8 wands, like you pack a punch with the way that you speak, and I don't mean that in a negative way, especially not with this context. I think you probably speak in a way that's very inspiring, very motivational. You speak in a way, and it's probably just because you've lived it. You've lived this experience. You've been there, done that. You know what it's like. And so you're like, here, I'll show you the way out. um, but you speak in a way that gets other people passionate because you're passionate. You inspire and motivate other people to grow because you have grown. And it reflects in how you speak about yourself, perhaps, how you speak about life, how you speak about your journey. And it feels like you help people move forward. People that are stuck in darkness, who have like struggled with their mental health forever and always. You show up and you're like, wait a second, let me show you how I got through this. And then they're just like, whoa, I didn't even know that was possible. Or maybe these are people that have felt alone in their struggle. And they're like, wow, somebody actually knows what it's like to go through this. You're super motivational, though, with this Eight of Wands energy. It's a beautiful energy. I feel like you're very forward focused. And I feel like that surprises people. People from your past did not expect you to become optimistic. They thought you may have, yeah, I feel like they would have assumed you would stay pessimistic, trapped within yourself, within your doubts and your fears and your anxieties. But there's also, I actually really like this. The last card we clarified, that 10 of Wands, you saw that tangled up mess of like the wands overlapping in a chaotical way. Here they are so straight and organized. So I think somehow you have untangled that internal mess within your head and made some sort of sense out of it, or maybe a sense of direction. You've organized either your mental health or your mental state in some way, and it's helped you go forward in life. And now you can inspire other people to move forward in life because you kind of have figured out how to do that. And a lot of people that are actively going through things, actively, struggling in that dark, they may think that it's impossible to move outside of that. They may assume that they're the only ones that are going through that experience, or to the extent that they are experiencing these things. They feel so trapped and lost and lonely, I'm getting. But you show up and you're like, hey, I got some ideas, and hey, this is what I did. Maybe this could help you too. Like, there's something so, it's like a breath of fresh air here. Because it's like you infuse people with hope. And it's not just like, I don't know, it's not like just up in the air. It's not just like the idea of hope. It's like real hope. I don't know how to word that. Like you show people that maybe hope is not lost, or hope is the beginning, or I don't know. There's just something about this that is like so real and raw because you've lived this experience. You know what it's like. And so you are here to guide others. And people did not see that coming, especially if you were shy growing up and maybe you didn't talk a lot, or you felt awkward in social situations, all that kind of thing. People are probably astounded, maybe with your vocabulary. I don't know why I'm getting that. I do think that there were some people that thought you were stupid. They really underestimated you, because I feel like this clear sense of people being like, the reason that they don't talk is because they have nothing interesting to say. The reason that they don't talk is because they are not very intellectual. Like, fuck these people, dude. Like, excuse the hell out of you, bro. But yeah, you've really improved a lot in terms of your communication and the way that you're showing up in this very open energy. And you are a guiding light to many. You're probably going to inspire a lot of people through being yourself showing up in a way that is not defeated. Yeah. And that would make sense why the Hanged Man came out, because especially those people that thought that either you were stupid or that you would never push past that social anxiety, perhaps. Um, they assumed a lot about you, and now they're just like, they can't believe what they're seeing, what they're hearing. They never thought that this would be who you are, or this would be who you turned out to be. And so they're just like shook. You have so many people from your past just absolutely shook, because it's like you are proving you're proving people wrong in every single way, is what it feels like. They really did not see this coming, and so they're going to be staring at you in shock for probably some time before they can wrap their mind around it completely, that you are not the same person that you used to be, and that you have made drastic changes, not only to yourself but to your life as well. I also want to say, to your lifestyle, maybe you take better care of yourself than you did. Maybe you really didn't care about caring for yourself back in the day, but now you show up in a way that's like obvious that you take care of yourself, and that you value yourself, and that you find that self-worth within. I also do feel that sense of self-love, because the Queen of Cups has mastered that self-love so that she's able to give to others. You just have an intense, beautiful energy. I'm just saying. And then bottom of the deck is the Two of Wands. So you are actually a thorough planner. People did not think that you would be that way. People may have thought that you would be very discontented with your circumstances. But there's something about you just planning and going forward. And it's almost like there's a hunger for more for you that people didn't anticipate. It's like you, like, even if you do accomplish something, you're like, okay, well, what can I accomplish next? Like, there's almost like this eager attitude you have for your future that people didn't really see being a thing. They didn't really think that you would embody that sort of energy. And it feels like you're very much a go-getter. You're like, I'm just gonna try, I'm just gonna go for it, I'm just gonna try my best. And literally, just by being open to that and putting in effort, the outcome is way better than maybe you even thought you could have. And it's simply because you believed in yourself. You kept pushing, you kept saying to yourself, well, what do I have to lose? And that's a whole nother thing too. When you're at your rock bottom and you don't really have anything left to lose, that's when you can start to build everything, because you get to a certain point where you really just don't care. So it's like, if I try to go towards this thing and I fail, like, people already, like, maybe you did experience a rock bottom where people were, they may have thought of you as a lost cause or something. But it's like, when you're at that rock bottom, you literally have nothing left to lose. So you're like, I might as well try to do this thing. If I fail, then whatever. But if I succeed, that builds up confidence. That builds up that self-assuredness that I feel like you embody these days. Let's see what's underneath that Two of Wands. Five of Wands. So this is interesting, because this feels like people's reaction to you. So maybe there were a bunch of different people that had different premonitions, different assumptions about what you would look like in the future. I feel like, and okay, this is kind of a bit funny and interesting. I'm almost getting this energy of like somebody being like, wow, did you see the Hive Collective? They just accomplished this, this, and this. And then somebody's like, oh yeah, I always assumed they would be successful. And it's like, maybe they didn't really. So it's just like, people want to be on the right side of history, so to speak. Like, people that see you succeeding now are probably going to go back on what they said, like, oh yeah, I always knew that they would be successful. Yeah, I totally always thought that. And it's like, no, they didn't. They probably doubted your success, but because you're coming into success now, everybody's like, oh yeah, I knew that. I could totally tell. It's like, okay, sure you could. But it feels like everybody has like their own opinion, everybody has their own perspective. It almost feels like it's kind of funny because it feels like the people from your past are almost in chaos over the fact that you have evolved, changed, transformed, rebirthed yourself into somebody completely different. And nobody knows what to do about that. Nobody knows what to say, what to do. And a lot of people have to eat their words, you know, the people that were doubting you. I'm going to see what's underneath that Five of Wands. The Tower. So literally, you shake up people's lives. You literally. Okay, so the tower is crumbling to the ground, and it needed to crumble in order for something bigger, more sturdy to be put in its place, built in its place. But this is hilarious because it feels like people's worldview is turned on their head. Like, people's minds are blown. And to be honest, that tower could even represent you. You demolished who you used to be, and you've been built up into something that is unrecognizable to the person you used to be. And people don't know how to react to that because it's literally astonishing. They may have thought that people don't do that, you know? People just simply do not transform like that. People, you know, these could even be people that like think that, you know, certain people or maybe everyone doesn't change, you know? That, you know, either there are certain people that don't change, or maybe everyone, they kind of look at the world and be like, you know, and maybe they're just like, oh yeah, nobody changes, you know, once a blah blah blah, there'll always be a blah blah blah. But you show people that is not the case, and you can start over, and you can be rebuilt, and you can leave them shocked with their jaws on the floor because they can't believe this. Yeah, you really shake people up. It almost even feels like if somebody, I don't know why this is coming through specifically. I'm getting in my mind somebody that wants to, like, this is so sad. Like if somebody's going through a hard time, they look up maybe people they went to school with in hopes that I don't know, that it will make them feel better about where they're at in life or something. But then they look up you hoping that it will be like, oh, you know, that they are struggling and blah blah. And then they look you up on like social media or something, and they're just like, damn. Because maybe these are people that maybe they themselves let opportunities pass them by, whereas they assumed you would be that person, which, you know, definitely smells of projection.
Yes, my phone died because it got too cold, but I kept the cards in the same order that they were in the reading. So I'm just going to refer to the main deck's bottom of the deck. This is my, what is it called? The Wild Unknown Tarot that I was using for the main cards of the reading that we were clarifying. And at the bottom of the deck, we have that Sun card. So I do think that you're showing up in this beautiful, radiant light, and you're glowing from within. You've done so much work on yourself that it literally is undeniable to these people. You seem lighter, you seem more carefree, more happy than you ever did in the past. Underneath that is the Queen of Swords. Oh, you gained a backbone. You are no longer afraid of anything or anyone. You also are powerful in terms of your boundaries. You're also highly intuitive. You see through all of the BS. Underneath that is the Devil. I feel like you have overcome a lot of your toxicities. You probably did that like internal reflection, you know, to really kind of face your demons, face your shadows. But at the same time, I feel like you've learned the magic to kind of owning your shadow, not letting it own you, but, you know, our shadow does exist for a purpose, right? It's meant to protect us. And so I think that you do let your shadow out if you need to, but you're way more in control of it than you used to be. So it's not like you just like fly off the handle at the, you know, the smallest thing. No, you're very much in control of your shadow, and you use it to your own benefit. Underneath that is the Queen of Cups. Yeah. You are showing up in this beautiful, radiant light, and you are making a very big difference in your life and in the world, I want to say, because of how you show up. You didn't let your life circumstances keep you from being kind, loving, open. You let that also, you allow your heart to guide the way when it comes to the things you go towards. Very inspirational. Okay, so I had to take a picture of this because this is just too perfect. So, with the Green Witch Oracle, the card that came out is Butterfly. This represents transformation, joy, beauty, and transience. Oh, isn't that the most perfect card to come out? You are definitely an example of great transformation. And, you know, I feel like people typically love butterflies because they're so beautiful. There's something so, delicate and like a work of art. And I feel like that is in a lot of ways you. And people knew you as a caterpillar, but now they're seeing you as a butterfly. There's also the joy and beauty part of this, which, I think that you are creating a lot of joy in your life, which could also lead to you being perceived as more beautiful. Because when you're in a higher vibration, you're happy with things, you definitely glow from within. And I think that a lot of people see that in you. I'm going to look up this word transience because I keep forgetting what it means. Okay, so it means like fleeting. Not permanent. So I think that people, the person that they thought was going to be around forever, never change, same old, same old. I think you're showing up in a way that proves that that past person that you were was never meant to last. You were never meant to embody that person for the rest of your life. And you have learned how to rebirth yourself into someone that is unrecognizable to the old person that you used to be. Beautiful. And then at the bottom of the deck is the Bird card, and this represents freedom and opportunity. I just find it so fitting that these two cards that show up are both creatures with wings. I think I said at one point that you're so much lighter. And I feel like that's not just in terms of that glow from within, but rather your soul feels lighter. There is a certain sense of not being attached to the things that weigh you down in life. But freedom and opportunity, I feel like you have set yourself free in so many ways, and you have taken advantage of opportunities, like I was saying earlier. And people are finally able to see how high you can fly, truly. Like, people are astounded with this transformation and the energy that you're showing up in now. It really does impact people, especially those people from the past. Okay, my friends, so that is the end of the reading. I really hope that you enjoyed this. And if it resonated at all, feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you subscribe, you can become a part of the Hive Collective, because my name is Bee. Bees live in hives, and you can become an honorary bee like me, and we can be a little bee family together. If you like my readings and you'd like to see more, be sure to click that bell icon down below so that YouTube actually notifies you the next time that I upload. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you, and I'm so happy to have you all in our little Hive Collective bee family. Maybe I should come up with a better way of wording that, because if you're part of the Hive Collective, you're part of our little bee family, and I like both of those things, saying both of them. But anyways, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye.